going to look at how to find percentages of a number, and we're going to look at some common percentages that you can find mentally. When we come to doing things like 37% of a number, or 96% of a number, or 43% of a number, you could work those out mentally by using this method, but for those ones you would normally use a calculator. However, for the common percents, you do need to be able to do it mentally. So, some common percentages then. We have 50%, we have 10%, we have 25%, 5%, and 1%. Now, if you can find these, you'll also be able to find 20%, because if you can find 10%, you can double it for 20%. If you can find 10%, you can triple it for 30%, that's right. If you can find 10%, you can halve it to find 5%. If you can find 1%, you could find 2%. What would you do with it? Absolutely. So you can find complicated percentages mentally, but you normally use the calculator. So, who knows how to find 50% of a number? What is 50% as a fraction?
5 over 10 or 50 over 100.
Yep, or simplified, it would be
1 over 2.
a half, absolutely. So, how are you going to find 50% of a number?
Just going to divide it by 2.
Divide it by 2 or halve it, that's right. So, divide by 2. We'll also put halve, because some of you might just think, oh yeah, I can just halve it. Okay. Who knows how we find 10% of a number? Jack?
Divide by 10.
Divide it by 10, well done. And that might give you a decimal in your answer, mightn't it? So, obviously, if you're moving the decimal point, which doesn't really move, but we'd move that instead of the numbers, you might get a decimal. How would I find 25%? What's 25% as a fraction, first of all? Ashi? A quarter, well done. So, how would I find 25%?
I half it and then half it again.
Yeah, so you could divide the number by 4. And I do exactly what Chase does. When I divide by 4, I halve it and halve it again. So if I've got to find 25% of 80, I would halve it to find 40 and then halve that again to find 20. But you could do 80 divided by 4, which is 20 as well. 5%, how would you find 5%? Lachlan?
Find 10% and half it.
Very good. Find 10% and then halve it. So you would divide the number by 10. So I'll put find 10% and I'll put in brackets divide by 10. And then you would halve that answer. And what about 1%? Now 1%, to find 1% of something is really useful, particularly next year in year 8 when we're doing a lot of financial maths.
You can turn it into a decimal and move it over decimal.
So what are you actually doing? Because you're right, but what are you actually doing with the number to find 1%? Bryce?
Divide by 100.
Dividing it by 100, well done. Okay, so let's look at some numbers. We'll just do these 4 at the moment. So let's have a look. We'll do 26. So we've got to find 50% of 26. If we look over here, to find 50%, we divide it by 2 or halve it. So what is 50% of 26?
13.
13. Very good. What is 10% of 26? We've got to divide it by 10. This is where you'll get a decimal in your answer. 10% of 26. Talon? 2.6, well done. 2.6. 25% of 26. So we know what 50% is. So if you find 25%, you either divide it by 4 or you find 50% and then halve it. Bryce? 6.5. Well done. What is 5% of 26? How do we find 5%? Alex?
1.3.
Well done, because what did you do?
Look for the 10%.
Perfect. Looked at the 10% and then halved it. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And then 1%, we've got to divide by 100. What's 1%?
0.26.
0.26. Okay. We all with me? Okay. So, who then, just as a matter of interest, would be able to find 51% of 26? 51%. How might you do it? Alex?
You add 0.26 to 13.
You would. Well done, which would give you 0.26. Great. Now, if I'd said to you, find 51% of 26, you'd have probably thought, I don't know how to do that. But because you've done this, you can find it, can't you? How would, what would 15% be?
Would be 3.9.
3.9. Well done. Great. So we're doing all this really quite complicated maths, but it's actually quite easy because we've done this. Number 40 then. What's 50% of 40? Ashi? 20. Nice easy one. 10% of 40?
4.0.
4. Yeah, we don't need the 0.0, but it won't be wrong if you put it. 25% of 40?
10.
10. Well done, Mackenzie. 5% of 40? 5. Brilliant. And 1% of 40?
0.4.
0.4. Very good. That was a slightly
Wait.
easier one, wasn't it?
How is 10% 4 but 5% 5?
Oh, sorry.
Wouldn't it be 2?
It is 2, yes. Sorry. Why did I think... Because I wrote 5 again because it was 5%. They said 2, but I wrote 5. It was my mistake. Never mind. On video forever. Mrs. Richmond got it wrong. Right.
Now it's going to be on video forever. I'm not cutting that out.
I don't mind. I know I'm not perfect. Right. 95 then. What is 50% of 95? Jack?
47.5.
47.5. Well done. Okay, 10% of 95.
9.5.
9.5. 25% of 95. So we've got to halve this one. It's quite tricky.
24.
No, that would be 48. So you're on the right track.
23.75.
23.75. Well done. Okay, 5%. To halve this. It's going to be another 0.75. Half the 9 is 4.5. Half the 0.5 is 0.25.
4.75.
Well done, 4.75. And then what is 1% of 95? Let's divide it by 100. Emma?
0.95.
0.95, well done. Okay, 300 then. No, this will be an easy one again because it ends in zeros. Let's order it together. 50% of 300, tell me everybody.
150.
150. 10% of 300,
30.
30. 25% of 300,
75.
75. 5% of 300, 15. And 1% of 300, 3. Okay, so what is 17% of 300? 17% of 300. How would you do it? How can you make 17 using these numbers? Mackenzie?
You add the 10%
The 10% to the 5%, two lots of the 1%. Well done. So 10% is 30, 5% is 15, which makes
45.
45, and then 2 6s make
51.
51. So 17% of 300 is 51. Okay, thank you. Can you turn it off?